In Portland, Michael was sitting on the living room sofa, gripping his phone, his heart racing like it might jump out of his chest. It had been years since he spoke to anyone in the family, and suddenly a simple message appeared. "Emma wants to see you." He swallowed hard. For a moment, everything felt heavy. The mistakes, the absences, the pain he caused. Could it be fixed? He didn't even know if he truly wanted to go, but one thing was clear: he couldn't run anymore. Something big was about to happen. Staring at the ceiling, Michael felt the weight of every day spent away from his daughter, every birthday he missed, every piece of advice he never gave, every tear he never wiped away. He tried to convince himself he was busy, that life had taken another path, but the truth bit deep. He was scared to face what he had done. And yet, the desire to make things right outweighed the fear. The house was quiet, except for the tick-tock of the wall clock. He picked up an old photo of Emma when she was little and smiled with nostalgia. The smile didn't last long, because soon came the memory of fights, of her crying when he left. Michael took a deep breath, feeling his throat tighten. He had never felt such a mix of guilt and hope at the same time. Michael got up, walked to the window, and looked out at the streets of Portland. People hurried past, oblivious to his turmoil. He felt invisible, as if the whole city had moved on without him. But now, a thread of connection appeared. The chance to be seen by his daughter again. He knew that just showing up wouldn't be enough. He needed to prove he had truly changed. Deep down, Michael was afraid of rejection. What if Emma didn't want to see him? What if the resentment had turned into an unbreakable wall? He curled up in the corner of the room, feeling each memory like a brick in that wall. Yet a small, timid hope was growing there too, pushing him forward. What if she still remembered him fondly? The phone buzzed again, another notification from the message. "Can we talk?" Michael felt a chill run down his spine. Every word felt like a test, a challenge. He typed "okay" without thinking, as if pressing a button that could push everything to the limit. The feeling that he was about to cross a point of no return made his chest ache and race at the same time. He began preparing, organizing his thoughts, remembering Emma, but without dwelling too much on old memories. He tried to imagine who she had become, what dreams she was chasing. Each mental scenario brought a mix of pride and fear. And the more he imagined, the more he realized he needed this chance, no matter how scared he felt. Michael closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and decided he would face it. Nothing could stop him from trying to reclaim lost time, but doubt lingered. What if the daughter he once knew no longer existed? He opened his eyes and stared into the emptiness, his heart pounding. And there, in the silence of the room, he began to feel that the meeting that could change everything was closer than he had imagined. In Portland, Michael sat alone in the dimly lit living room, memories crashing into him like relentless waves. He remembered the nights he stayed out too late, the fights with his wife that always ended in silence, the moments he chose escape over responsibility. Each memory hit hard, reminding him of the gap he'd left in his daughter's life, a gap he could never truly fill. He thought about the promises he broke, the birthdays, school recitals, and simple bedtime stories he missed. Each absence was a mark of guilt etched into his heart. Michael tried to reason with himself, to make excuses for the choices he'd made, but deep down, he knew he'd taken the easy way out when he should have stayed and faced life with his family. The quiet of the house amplified his regrets. He could almost hear Emma's voice calling for him in the past, feel the tiny hands reaching out, hoping he would be there. The weight of those years apart pressed on him, and he realized that no apology would ever erase the pain he caused. Yet the urge to try remained, stronger than his fear. He thought about the times he had told himself, "I'll make it up later," but later never came. Michael felt the sting of lost chances, and it was a bitter pill. Each flashback of his daughter growing up without him fueled both shame and determination. He knew he had failed as a father, but he also knew that giving up now wasn't an option. Michael ran his hands through his hair and closed his eyes. The mistakes were countless, but he began to imagine how he could confront them, how he could show Emma that he wasn't the same man who walked away. The thought was terrifying, yet it sparked a flicker of hope. Maybe he could start making amends, even if it was just a small step at a time. He remembered the moment he left, the harsh words exchanged, the door slamming shut. The memory made his chest tighten, but alongside the guilt was a quiet realization. Running hadn't solved anything. The past couldn't be undone, but he could face it now, with courage he hadn't had before. Michael looked around the silent living room, imagining Emma's face now, older, stronger, and possibly wary of him. The fear of rejection and disappointment loomed over him, but he couldn't ignore the pull of his heart. He had to try, no matter the outcome. Finally, he took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "I have to see her. I have to make this right, even if it takes everything I have." In that moment, Michael felt the full weight of his guilt, but also the first spark of resolve. The path to redemption was daunting, but it was the only path forward. In Portland, Michael sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, trying to figure out how to reach out without scaring her off. Every option felt risky. Should he call? Text? Just show up? Each choice carried the weight of years lost and the possibility of rejection. His hands shook slightly as he scrolled through old messages, thinking about what to say, how to say it, and whether it would even make a difference. He thought about the first impression he'd leave after all this time. Would she remember him fondly, or just the father who disappeared? Michael ran through countless scenarios in his head, each ending with different outcomes: anger, silence, maybe even tears. The uncertainty made his chest tighten, but he knew he couldn't avoid it any longer. Michael began drafting a message, deleting, rewriting, and deleting again. Every word mattered. "I'm sorry" felt too weak. "I want to see you" sounded desperate. He wanted honesty, vulnerability, and a spark of hope all at once, but words never felt enough. He paused, staring at the blinking cursor, feeling the weight of what was at stake. He imagined her reaction, a cold stare, folded arms, maybe even a sharp, "Why now?" His stomach twisted with fear at the thought of being turned away, of having all his effort crushed in a single moment. But he also imagined a small, cautious smile, a hint that she might let him in, even just a little. That thought kept him going. Michael took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm. No matter her response, he had to approach this with patience. He couldn't demand forgiveness or expect her to welcome him back immediately. All he could do was show that he had changed, that he was willing to try, and that he truly wanted to reconnect. He rehearsed the conversation in his mind. Simple greetings, questions about her life, listening more than speaking. Every word had to show respect and care. He pictured her sitting across from him, evaluating his intentions, and hoped she would see the sincerity behind his nervousness. Finally, Michael hit send on a carefully worded message. "Emma, I know it's been a long time. I'd really like to see you and talk if you're willing." His thumb hovered over the send button for a moment before he pressed it. The sound of the message going out felt heavier than anything he'd experienced in years. Sitting back, Michael stared out the window at the streets of Portland. He felt a strange mix of fear, anticipation, and hope. The first step had been taken, and now all that remained was waiting, hoping, and preparing himself for whatever came next. The moment of truth was on its way, and there was no turning back. In Portland, Emma moved through her office with confidence, her steps precise and deliberate. The room seemed to respond to her presence. Colleagues listened intently when she spoke, and her ideas carried weight in every discussion. Michael watched from a distance, quietly amazed at how much she had grown. strong, capable, and completely independent. She reviewed reports, delegated tasks, and navigated challenges with ease, a natural leader who commanded respect without even trying. Michael noticed the calm authority in her voice and the sharp focus in her eyes. It was clear that every obstacle she had faced alone had shaped her into someone resilient and formidable. Emma interacted with her team warmly but firmly, balancing empathy with high expectations. She encouraged them, provided guidance, and ensured results were delivered. Michael felt a pang of both pride and regret. Pride in her accomplishments, regret that he hadn't been there to witness or support her growth. As she led a meeting, Michael saw her skill in resolving conflicts and inspiring her colleagues. She asked questions, listened carefully, and offered solutions with clarity and conviction. The energy in the room was focused around her, and it hit Michael that she had built her world without him and had thrived. Between meetings, Emma handled emails, calls, and presentations effortlessly. Michael marveled at her multitasking, the balance of professionalism and approachability she maintained. She moved like someone in complete control of her life, a stark contrast to the little girl who once needed him for every small reassurance. He noticed small habits that revealed her personality, a thoughtful pause before speaking, a quick nod to acknowledge others, a subtle smile when something impressed her. These details made her feel alive and real, and Michael understood that her independence was not just professional, it was deeply personal, forged by years of self-reliance. Emma's phone buzzed, and she responded with efficiency and warmth. Michael could see how much respect she had earned from her peers. They valued her judgment, and she didn't take it lightly. Watching her, he realized that reconnecting wouldn't just be about being a father. It would be about approaching someone who had grown into her own person, powerful and self-assured. By the end of the day, Michael felt a mix of admiration, humility, and awe. Emma's life was full, her success undeniable. He recognized that any attempt at reconnection had to respect the independence she had fought hard to achieve. She was no longer the little girl he left behind. She was a strong, influential woman, and he had to find a way to be part of her world without overstepping. In Portland, Michael waited nervously outside Emma's office, feeling his palms sweat and his heart race. The moment had finally come, the meeting he had imagined 1,000 times, yet never felt fully prepared for. What would he say? How would she react? Every scenario ran through his mind, some hopeful, some terrifying. Emma opened the door and looked at him with a careful, measured gaze. Her expression was unreadable, but Michael could sense a storm beneath the calm surface. She didn't smile, didn't step forward immediately. She simply observed him, assessing, measuring the man who had disappeared from her life for so many years. "Hi," Michael said, his voice trembling slightly. I'm really glad you agreed to see me." Emma nodded, her arms crossed subtly. She didn't answer right away, letting the silence stretch, making Michael painfully aware of the tension between them. He felt like every second was a test, and he hadn't studied for it. They both sat down, keeping a cautious distance. Michael tried to speak about simple things, how he'd been, where he'd been, but every word seemed inadequate. Emma responded politely but coldly, revealing the wall she had built over the years. Michael felt the weight of every absence, every missed birthday, every tear he hadn't been there to wipe away. Emma's eyes softened for a brief moment, betraying a flicker of vulnerability, but it vanished quickly. Michael noticed and silently hoped that the daughter he remembered still existed somewhere behind the armor she wore. The tension was a silent dance, a delicate balance of resentment, curiosity, and unspoken emotions. As the conversation continued, Michael shared memories cautiously, trying to reconnect without forcing intimacy. Emma listened, but her replies were guarded. She wasn't the little girl who would blindly accept him. She was a grown woman, independent and cautious, and he had to earn her trust, not demand it. The atmosphere was heavy, yet there was an undercurrent of possibility. Michael realized that this first meeting wouldn't be perfect, but it was a start. Every shared glance, every small acknowledgement was a thread weaving a fragile connection, tentative but alive. By the time they parted that day, neither had fully opened up, but something had shifted. Michael felt the first stirrings of hope, and Emma acknowledged silently that she was willing to let him try. The tension remained, but it was now mixed with a subtle, unspoken understanding. This meeting was the beginning, not the end, of something that could be rebuilt. In Portland, as Michael walked home that evening, memories of Emma's childhood began flooding his mind. He remembered the little hands that once held his tightly, the laughter echoing through the house, and the countless bedtime stories he missed. Each recollection was bittersweet, a mix of joy and deep regret. He thought about birthdays he skipped, school plays he never attended, and the first day of school he wasn't there to watch. Michael's chest ached, remembering the disappointment in her eyes, the silent questions she never voiced. Those moments were frozen in his memory, painful reminders of a time he could never reclaim. The flashbacks weren't all sad, though. He recalled teaching her to ride a bike, helping with homework, and quiet moments where her smile lit up the room. Each memory carried warmth, showing the bond they once had before his mistakes drove a wedge between them. Those small fragments reminded him of what he had lost and why he needed to try again. Michael remembered evenings when he imagined what she was doing, hoping she wasn't sad, wishing he could have been there. He felt a wave of shame wash over him. Those hopes were hollow because he hadn't acted. The years apart had left him powerless to fix the hurt, but they also fueled his determination to make amends now. Images of her crying when he left returned vividly. He could hear her sobs, see her tiny face buried in pillows, and feel the guilt that never left him. Those moments haunted him, but they also pushed him forward, reminding him that reconciliation wasn't just a choice, it was a necessity. He thought about the milestones he missed. First words, first friends, first successes. Michael realized that Emma had grown up without his guidance, yet she had thrived. That realization both humbled him and made him proud. The flashbacks showed a mix of loss and admiration, shaping his desire to reconnect. As he sat quietly, the memories blended into the present, making him painfully aware of the gap he had created. But the recollections also provided a roadmap. He could honor the past by acknowledging it and working to rebuild the trust and bond they once shared. Finally, Michael exhaled slowly, accepting the weight of his absence and the impact it had on Emma. He knew he couldn't change the past, but he could show up now, fully and sincerely, ready to face the consequences and, hopefully, rebuild the relationship that mattered more than anything. In Portland, Emma faced Michael in her office, her eyes sharp and unwavering. She didn't raise her voice, but every word carried weight. "Do you know what it was like growing up without you?" she asked, her tone calm but firm. Michael swallowed hard, feeling the sting of her words. He knew this confrontation was coming, and he felt both dread and relief. Emma spoke of birthdays, holidays, and simple everyday moments that he had missed. She recounted nights when she cried herself to sleep, wishing he was there, and times when she had to rely on others for comfort he should have provided. Michael listened silently, each revelation pressing heavily on his heart. "You weren't there," she continued, "and it changed everything. I had to learn to be strong on my own, to protect myself, because I couldn't count on you." Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the emotions beneath her controlled exterior. Michael felt a mix of guilt and sorrow. He had caused this, and now he had to face it. He tried to speak, to explain, but the words felt small and inadequate. Emma wasn't looking for excuses. She wanted acknowledgement. Michael's throat tightened as he realized that no explanation could undo the pain he had caused. He could only express regret and show that he was ready to take responsibility. Emma's eyes softened briefly, a glimpse of vulnerability breaking through her strength. "I don't hate you," she said quietly, "but I can't pretend nothing happened. You left, and I had to survive without you." Michael nodded, the truth of her words sinking deep. He felt the weight of years lost, but also a faint hope that understanding could grow from honesty. Michael admitted his mistakes, his voice shaky but sincere. He spoke of regret, of longing to be part of her life again, and the pain of knowing he had failed her. He didn't ask for forgiveness immediately. He simply wanted her to know he understood the consequences of his absence. Emma listened, absorbing his words, testing his sincerity. She realized that while the past couldn't be erased, he was trying to face it with courage. The confrontation was intense, but it also opened a small door, a chance for dialogue that could lead to healing. By the end of their conversation, a tense understanding hung in the air. Emma had voiced her pain, Michael had accepted it, and though the road ahead would be long, both recognized that this confrontation was the first step toward rebuilding what was broken. In Portland, Michael took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I know I have no excuse," he began, his voice low and unsteady. "I made choices that hurt you and your mum. I ran when I should have stayed. I was scared, but I regret every moment I wasn't there." He looked at Emma, hoping she could see the truth in his eyes. He spoke of the pressures and fears he faced back then, not as excuses, but as context for his mistakes. Michael wanted her to understand that his absence wasn't from lack of love, but from his own failures and immaturity. Each word felt heavy, yet necessary, a way to finally take responsibility for the past. Emma listened, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She could hear the pain in his voice, but her face showed the caution of someone who had been hurt deeply. Michael's heart raced, knowing that remorse alone might not be enough to bridge the gap between them. "I wasn't the father you deserved," he continued, voice trembling. "And I know saying I'm sorry isn't enough. I can't go back, but I want to try to be here now, if you'll let me." He paused, feeling vulnerable, exposing years of regret and longing for connection. Emma studied him carefully, noting the genuine sorrow in his eyes. She saw a man stripped of pretense, a father willing to face the consequences of his actions. Michael's vulnerability was a contrast to the confident, strong woman she had become, but she sensed the honesty beneath it all. He admitted the nights he lay awake thinking of her, wishing he could turn back time, wishing he had done things differently. Michael's voice cracked as he spoke, and Emma felt the weight of his pain, mingled with the realization that he was making an effort to change. Michael tried to convey that he understood the impact of his absence on her life, the resilience she had to develop, the challenges she faced alone, and the person she became as a result. He didn't want to erase her strength or diminish her independence. He wanted to acknowledge it and find a way to support her now. By the end of their conversation, a quiet tension lingered, but also a faint glimmer of possibility. Michael had shown his vulnerability, and Emma had witnessed it. The path to reconciliation was still uncertain, but for the first time in years, it felt like a real option, built on honesty, remorse, and the hope of a second chance. In Portland, Emma sat across from Michael, her posture straight and composed. She could feel the sincerity in his words, the weight of his remorse, and it stirred a subtle sense of empathy within her. But she wasn't the little girl who would automatically forgive. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more cautious over the years. "I hear you," she said softly, her voice steady. "I know you regret what happened, and I can tell you mean it." Her tone was calm, yet it carried the firmness of someone who had endured years of disappointment. Michael felt a glimmer of hope. but knew he still had a long way to go. Emma recounted moments that tested her patience and resilience, showing Michael that while she understood his struggles, she also needed him to respect her boundaries. He nodded, listening carefully, aware that empathy alone wouldn't repair the years of absence. Every word she spoke was measured, revealing both strength and vulnerability. She acknowledged the effort he was making now, but reminded him gently that trust wasn't rebuilt overnight. Michael felt the weight of her honesty, recognizing that the daughter in front of him was no longer dependent or naive. She was a capable woman who had learned to protect herself. Emma's empathy came through in small gestures, a brief nod, a softening glance, a momentary pause before responding. Yet she maintained her composure, demonstrating that while she could understand his feelings, she would not compromise her independence or dismiss the pain he had caused. Michael realized that her firmness wasn't rejection, it was a reflection of her strength. She had learned to navigate life without him, and now any connection they rebuilt had to honor the person she had become, not the child he remembered. They talked for hours, carefully balancing emotions, with Emma asserting her boundaries and Michael expressing his desire to be present. The tension remained, but beneath it, a fragile bridge of understanding was forming, hinting that their relationship could evolve in a healthy, respectful way. By the end of the conversation, Michael felt a deep respect for Emma. She had become someone he could admire and learn from, and though the path ahead was uncertain, he now understood that reconnecting would require patience, humility, and unwavering respect for her independence. In Portland, Michael and Emma started spending small amounts of time together, cautiously testing the waters. Simple gestures, sharing coffee, short conversations about work, or even a casual walk, became the foundation for slowly rebuilding trust. Each small moment carried weight, reminding Michael that relationships weren't rebuilt in a day. They laughed quietly at inside jokes from her childhood, ones that Michael barely remembered, but Emma recounted vividly. Those little sparks of connection made him feel both nostalgic and hopeful. He realized that even small interactions could create meaningful bonds when handled with care. Michael tried to be helpful without overstepping, offering to assist with minor tasks or share insights when asked. Emma appreciated the effort, but remained in control, showing that the rebuilding process required mutual respect. Each successful interaction strengthened the fragile bridge forming between them. They began sharing stories from their days, Michael cautiously opening up about his struggles and growth, while Emma shared her achievements and challenges. These exchanges fostered understanding and empathy, making the presence of the father less intrusive and more supportive. Michael noticed Emma's subtle ways of including him, an invitation to lunch, a glance that communicated appreciation, or simply asking his opinion on a small decision. Each gesture, though minor, represented a step toward reconnecting and rebuilding a relationship grounded in trust. Emma also started allowing Michael to witness her professional life, letting him see her succeed and interact with colleagues. He observed her confidently navigating complex situations and began to understand the woman she had become, realizing that the key to their renewed connection was respect for her autonomy. Through shared moments, laughter, and small acts of care, the father-daughter bond slowly started to transform. Michael understood that these gestures, while simple, were the building blocks for a relationship that could withstand the pain of the past. By the end of the day, Michael felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. Their connection wasn't perfect, but it was growing, built on patience, empathy, and consistent effort. For the first time in years, he sensed that their relationship could truly be rebuilt, one small gesture at a time. In Portland, Michael accompanied Emma to a meeting with her team, curious to see the world she had built. He watched as she effortlessly led discussions, negotiated complex deals, and inspired those around her. Each moment revealed a depth of skill and intelligence he had never imagined, leaving him in awe. Emma presented her ideas with clarity and precision, answering questions thoughtfully and confidently. Michael realized that she wasn't just capable, she was exceptional. The years of absence made him feel both proud and regretful, wishing he had been there to nurture even a fraction of her talent. He noticed how she handled challenges, calmly assessing risks and making decisions with remarkable insight. Michael couldn't help but smile quietly to himself, impressed by the woman his daughter had become. Each action, each word, demonstrated competence, leadership, and unwavering self-assurance. During a brainstorming session, Emma suggested solutions that were innovative and practical, earning praise from colleagues. Michael listened intently, trying to keep up with the conversation, but also absorbing every moment with pride. He realized that her strength wasn't just inherited, it was forged through determination and experience. Outside the office, Emma explained projects she was passionate about, revealing her creativity and dedication. Michael was amazed by her ability to balance ambition with empathy, influence with integrity. She had grown into someone he could admire fully, beyond the role of a daughter. Michael felt a twinge of guilt as he reflected on the years he missed. All those lessons, all that growth, happened without him. Yet at the same time, he marveled at her resilience and resourcefulness. She had overcome the absence of a father and created a life of remarkable achievement. He also noticed subtle talents he had never seen as a child. Her sharp negotiation skills, her analytical thinking, her calm under pressure. Michael realized that Emma had grown far beyond what he had ever imagined, and reconnecting with her meant recognizing and respecting this incredible evolution. By the end of the day, Michael felt a profound mix of admiration and humility. He understood that any attempt to reconnect required him to accept her as the extraordinary woman she had become, not the child he once knew. The discovery of her talents deepened his desire to support and respect her, while also acknowledging the gap his absence had left. In Portland, Michael and Emma shared a quiet evening at her apartment, the air heavy with unspoken thoughts. Michael felt hopeful, but he quickly realized that forgiveness wasn't a switch. It didn't instantly erase the years of pain and absence. Every small misstep could reignite old tensions. He offered advice on a project, trying to be helpful, but Emma's expression remained calm yet distant. Michael felt a pang of unease. He understood that even though she was listening, acceptance would take time, and he had to be patient. Each interaction was a delicate balance between effort and restraint. Emma, while empathetic, occasionally reminded him of her boundaries, whether through subtle gestures or carefully chosen words. Michael realized that her forgiveness didn't mean full trust. It was an invitation to earn it gradually, with sincerity and consistency. During a brief disagreement over priorities, Michael felt the tension spike. He wanted to step in, to prove himself, but he caught himself remembering that he needed to respect her autonomy. The realization was humbling. He couldn't rush the rebuilding process. At dinner, small silences lingered, filled with memories and lingering emotions. Michael noticed that every time he assumed closeness, Emma subtly corrected the distance. He began to understand that rebuilding a relationship after years apart required awareness, patience, and careful listening. He reflected on the gap that remained between them, the invisible wall built over years of absence. Even with her empathy, Emma wasn't ready to fully embrace him yet. Michael's heart ached, but he also felt a growing resolve. He needed to accept that acceptance would be earned, not demanded. Michael tried to focus on small victories, shared smiles, moments of laughter, or brief insights into her world. Each tiny success reinforced the fragile bond they were rebuilding, reminding him that progress, however slow, was still progress. By the end of the evening, Michael recognized that patience and understanding were as important as remorse and sincerity. Forgiveness didn't guarantee closeness, but it opened the door for growth. He left with a renewed commitment to respect Emma's pace, knowing that the journey to acceptance would require time, effort, and genuine care. In Portland, Emma sat alone in her office after a long day, replaying the conversations she had with Michael. Trust wasn't something she could give lightly, especially to someone who had abandoned her for years. She felt a swirl of emotions, curiosity, hope, but also caution and lingering anger. She remembered the nights she cried alone, the times she had wished for a father who never came. Those memories made her wary of opening her heart again. Could she truly trust him, or was this just another moment of disappointment waiting to happen? The dilemma weighed heavily on her. Emma considered the changes she had observed in Michael, the humility, the vulnerability, the effort he was making, yet her instinct told her to proceed slowly. She knew that trust was built over time, with consistent actions, not just words. Every interaction was a test, a chance to measure his sincerity. She thought about what forgiveness really meant. It didn't mean forgetting or pretending the past didn't exist. It meant acknowledging the hurt, evaluating his actions, and deciding if moving forward was possible. Emma understood that she could care for him without letting her guard down completely. During a brief call, Michael tried to connect, but Emma held back some emotions, carefully measuring her responses. She wanted to gauge his commitment and authenticity. It was a delicate balance, allowing connection while maintaining self-protection. Emma reflected on her own growth and resilience. She had survived and thrived despite his absence, and she wasn't willing to compromise her strength. Yet, a part of her still longed for reconciliation, for a father who could finally be present in her life. Each day presented small dilemmas: a shared meal, a brief conversation, a look that suggested openness. She weighed her reactions carefully, navigating between empathy and caution. The process was exhausting, but necessary for her emotional safety. By the end of the day, Emma realized that trust was not a single decision. It was a journey. She could allow him in gradually, setting the pace, testing boundaries, and observing sincerity. Michael's presence was tentative, but the possibility of rebuilding a meaningful relationship existed, if approached with patience and care. In Portland, Michael attended a small gathering organized by Emma at her office, hoping to be part of her world. As he entered the room, he immediately felt a sense of displacement. Everyone knew each other, and he was the outsider, the father who had been absent for years. He tried to join conversations, offering polite remarks and asking questions, but it was clear that his presence was unusual. People glanced at him curiously, and Michael felt a pang of embarrassment. It was a reminder that reconnecting with Emma also meant navigating a world he had never been part of. Emma noticed his discomfort and subtly guided him, introducing him to colleagues and friends. Michael appreciated her efforts, but he still felt the weight of being an intruder in her established life. The experience highlighted how much had changed since he last knew her. He listened quietly, learning about projects, achievements, and the dynamics of her team. Each detail made him realize the gap between them was not just emotional, but also social and professional. He wanted to support her, but he didn't want to overstep or seem intrusive. Michael's attempts to contribute were met with polite acknowledgement, but he quickly recognized that acceptance within her circle would take time. He had to prove himself through respect and patience rather than force or familiarity. Each interaction became a subtle test of his intentions. Despite the awkwardness, Michael felt moments of pride as he observed Emma interacting with her peers. Her confidence, influence, and respect were undeniable. Witnessing her world from the outside made him more determined to be part of it, in a way that honored her achievements. By the end of the gathering, Michael felt a mix of humility and determination. He wasn't yet fully accepted, but he had planted small seeds of connection. Each step he took in her social and professional world was a chance to build trust and understanding. Michael left the event reflecting on the experience. It was clear that reconnecting with Emma meant embracing her life fully, including the spaces he had never been part of. He realized that patience, respect, and genuine interest were crucial to bridging the gap and becoming part of her world. In Portland, a sudden crisis hit Emma's company. A major client threatened to pull a deal that could have serious consequences. Tension filled the office, and Michael immediately sensed the pressure surrounding her. For the first time, he realized that showing up wasn't enough. He needed to actively support her. Emma was quick to react, coordinating her team and making critical decisions under stress, Michael observed, realizing just how capable she had become. He offered help where he could, stepping into a role he had never played before, cautiously contributing without overstepping boundaries. As challenges arose, Michael and Emma found themselves working side by side. The intensity of the situation forced them to communicate honestly, rely on each other's judgment, and trust, even tentatively, in one another. Old walls began to crack under the weight of collaboration. Michael noticed how naturally Emma assumed leadership, but also how she valued input when needed. He realized that she had developed skills he never imagined, and this crisis gave him a chance to see her strength firsthand, while proving his willingness to be present and helpful. Emma, despite the stress, acknowledged Michael's support subtly. A nod, a word of thanks, a brief look that conveyed recognition. These small signs reminded him that although the past couldn't be erased, some bonds remained unbroken, buried under years of distance. Together, they faced difficult decisions and high-pressure moments, and in doing so, a tentative trust began to grow. Michael felt the thrill and relief of being needed, while Emma recognized that his presence, for the first time, could be a source of support rather than pain. By the end of the crisis, a sense of accomplishment and connection lingered. Michael realized that shared challenges could create openings for deeper understanding and intimacy. Even after years apart, he had seen a side of Emma that was both formidable and human, and he felt honored to participate. The experience left both of them reflective. Michael understood that bonding through adversity was a step toward reconciliation, and Emma realized that her father, despite his past mistakes, could play a positive role in her life. The crisis revealed that their connection, though strained, was still alive and capable of growth. In Portland, Michael attended a high-profile event with Emma, where colleagues, clients, and friends sought her out for advice and guidance. Everywhere she went, people listened intently, hung on her words, and treated her with admiration. Michael's chest swelled with pride, but he also felt a twinge of envy. He hadn't been there to witness her rise. Emma moved through the room with poise and confidence, effortlessly engaging with influential figures and making decisions that impacted important projects. Michael watched in awe, realizing that the little girl he once knew had become a woman of remarkable strength and presence. He noticed the way people respected her opinions and deferred to her judgment. Each interaction reminded him of the influence she had earned through talent, dedication, and resilience. Michael felt both admiration and a quiet regret that he hadn't been part of the journey that shaped her. During conversations, he caught glimpses of her charm, intelligence, and decisiveness. Michael realized that she had created a world full of opportunities and respect, and he could only marvel at the woman she had become, recognizing how much she had grown without him. He also felt the bittersweet sting of envy, knowing that he had missed moments that contributed to her strength. Yet rather than resent her success, he allowed it to inspire him, understanding that appreciating her achievements was part of rebuilding their relationship. Michael reflected on how far she had come. Her independence, authority, and influence were undeniable. He felt proud, not just as a father reconnecting, but as someone witnessing the remarkable evolution of a person he had once helped create, even imperfectly. Emma noticed his admiration subtly, acknowledging it with a brief smile. Michael understood that being present now meant supporting her growth and celebrating her achievements, not trying to reclaim lost time or authority. Respecting her autonomy was key. By the end of the evening, Michael felt a complex mix of emotions: pride, envy, humility, and gratitude. He recognized that reconnecting wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about witnessing and honoring the life she had built, while carving a meaningful role for himself in her world moving forward. In Portland, Emma sat at her desk, reviewing plans for an important project. Michael observed quietly, noticing the determination in her eyes and the confident way she carried herself. It was clear that the years of hardship had shaped her into a strong, independent woman, capable of facing challenges head-on. She spoke with authority, making decisions decisively and ensuring everyone on her team understood their roles. Michael could see that she had learned to assert herself, to protect her boundaries, and to demand respect. Lessons born from a childhood without him, yet forged into personal strength. Emma's interactions with colleagues reflected both empathy and firmness. She knew how to balance kindness with authority, a skill developed through years of navigating life without relying on anyone. Michael felt awe and a touch of guilt, realizing how much she had grown in his absence. He watched as she calmly handled a sudden problem, directing her team with clarity and composure. Michael realized that the challenges she had faced had built resilience, and that this strength was something she had earned entirely on her own. Emma also showed subtle warmth toward Michael, acknowledging his presence while maintaining her independence. He understood that she was not rejecting him, but she was careful to preserve her autonomy. The daughter he once knew was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to assert it. Michael reflected on the balance she had struck: strength tempered with empathy, confidence balanced with respect for others. He realized that reconnecting with her meant recognizing this evolution and supporting it, not trying to change or control her. Emma noticed his gaze and offered a small, approving smile. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, showing that she appreciated his efforts and presence while maintaining her independence and self-assurance. By the end of the day, Michael felt inspired. Emma had transformed her pain into power, her absence into resilience, and he recognized that their relationship moving forward needed to honor the strong, assertive woman she had become. He resolved to meet her strength with patience, respect, and genuine support. In Portland, Michael and Emma shared a quiet afternoon at a small cafe, sipping coffee and talking about life. The air was calm, filled with a tentative sense of ease. Michael could feel the subtle shifts, the small acknowledgements, the ease in conversation that signaled the beginning of a renewed connection. Emma laughed at a story he told, genuine and light, and Michael felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Each smile, each shared glance built a fragile bridge of trust between them. Step by step, they spoke of everyday things: work, friends, small dreams, and Michael listened more than he spoke, absorbing the nuances of her world. He realized that being present, patient, and attentive was more important than grand gestures or apologies. Emma also began inviting him into small aspects of her life, like attending a casual work meeting or joining a weekend hike. Michael felt included in ways that respected her independence, proving that their relationship could evolve on mutual terms. There were still moments of tension and hesitation, reminders of past pain, but they were becoming less frequent. Michael learned to accept her boundaries and pace, understanding that a meaningful bond required time, trust, and consistency. Together, they celebrated small victories: the completion of a project, a shared laugh, a new insight into each other's lives. These moments, though ordinary, became powerful symbols of their slowly rebuilding connection. Michael felt a profound mix of gratitude, pride, and hope. He understood that reconnecting didn't erase the past, but it created a foundation for a new chapter, one where love and respect could coexist with the lessons of absence and independence. By the end of the afternoon, both felt a sense of possibility. Michael had been gradually accepted, not as the father who left, but as someone committed to being part of Emma's life now. They had discovered a new way to relate, grounded in honesty, respect, and the shared desire to move forward together.